Hello! Oh my. Well, today's story is about magic. And, let's go listen, shall we? This is Carrot. It's a family name. He hails from a place called Terotha, which produces some of the finest wizards of all the realm. In fact, the glorious Chikama, who defeated the great gob of goblins of 390 BS, before stone, was born there himself. But as for Carrot, well, you see that carrot he is holding? Well, that's not a carrot. It's a magical heirloom. The all-important conduit used to produce some truly grand spectacles. And, well, Carrot's possession of this trinket is a fairly recent acquisition. His father, the late Sativus II, who inherited it from his father and so on, has now passed it on to his son, Carrot. But that's not all. You see, this family has another tradition as well, participating in the Zingba Tubulus Tournament, an annual event where wizards from all across the land come together to compete for gold, bragging rights, and honor for their respective families. Something that Carrot has always wanted to partake in, but was always forced to watch from the sidelines, until now. There was just one major problem. His father, Sativus II, though a loving parent, was careless in preparing his son for the challenges, always obsessing over his own talent or weaknesses, and thinking there would be time in the future. He failed his son as a teacher. And with his sudden passing due to a lingering illness, which he also thought would go away with time, he left his son almost woefully unprepared, though not entirely helpless. As I said, he was still a loving parent, and brought Carrot along to all of his training sessions and fights for each tournament, giving him a front row seat to all the action, in order to learn by watching. That was the idea, at least. What wasn't accounted for, however, was Carrot's attention span. When focused was a very potent weapon, but the ability to multitask was out of the question. He just couldn't juggle two things at once. So although he did learn, perhaps it wasn't what his father thought it would be, as Carrot, for better or worse, only knows one spell. But that one spell he knows is mighty powerful. More on that later. For now, just know that despite any oversight, Carrot loved his father, and will do what he must to carry on the legacy in honor of his elders that came before him. Now, I believe we know most of what we need to catch up with where he was before our acquaintance, which would be his first day and match at the prestigious Zingba Tubulus Tournament, where he met up with an old friend, just within the common area for participants to rub elbows with a bite to eat before going on stage to perform.
Ah, Carrot, welcome. So good to see you. Your father, I am sorry. But that is life, eh? Still, I am full to see you back ready for battle, eh?
This large, jovial man embraced Carrot in a hearty hug as they met. Hello, Nadim. And thanks. It's good to see one of Father's old friends.
Old? How dare you? But this is true. Perhaps is why I shall be your first opponent, no?
I couldn't ask for a better entry.
But don't think I'll be taking it easy on you, eh? Been practicing, have you? All's good?
Nadim patted Carrot on the shoulder as they walked and talked. But as the conversation went on, Carrot couldn't help but get lost in his own thoughts, wondering just how far he could make it with but one spell under his belt. Damn, he thought while shaking his head, thinking he should have paid closer attention to his father's matches or asked more questions. There were many things swirling around his head at this time, and Nadim must have picked up on it.
Do not worry, young one. You'll get through this and be stronger for it, no? But for now, you should breathe and ready yourself.
Nadim closed his eyes and nodded.
Good. Now I must depart. But when next we meet, I shall be your adversary. Farewell until then.
Carrot watched as he walked off, then glanced around to get his surroundings and realized he was standing just outside of a small room. Each of the participants had one just like it. This one had his name posted just outside. Stepping within, there was a sweet, relaxing floral scent, with a bench against the adjacent wall and a small table next to it, upon which was a glass of water and a clay pot full of native flowers that reminded him of home. He took a deep breath, sat down, and waited. Carrot didn't remember the crowd being so enthusiastic or loud when he was part of the noise. But now, standing at the edge of the caster's ring and looking around at the bowl-shaped stadium, it was quite an overwhelming thing to behold from his position. Taking yet another deep breath, he calmed himself, and looked across at Nadim, who was sitting upon the dirt with his eyes fixed on Carrot. Then he smiled and winked. Carrot snorted, then shuffled his feet and thought to himself while the announcer went on a lengthy speech about tradition, magic battles, and the legends of Nadim. Okay, his inner monologue began. Since I really only have one spell to abuse, and Nadim is quite heavy-handed with his plethora to choose from, I'm really going to have to be careful about my opportunities. He trailed off as he caught his name being called over the cacophonous cheering. Snapping to, his heart began racing as he realized the battle had begun when a sharp hiss shot past his ear.
That's the only warning shot you'll be getting, my boy,
Nadim shouted from across, followed by a volley of frostbolts. Carrot dove, then cracked his wrist in a quick motion, sending out his one and only spell. "Oh shit!" he exclaimed to himself, as he unceremoniously collided with the ground. Dislocating his left shoulder, he found that he wasn't able to move. The frostbolt volley had found its mark and froze his legs, right arm, and neck in place, rendering him immovable in midair. Damn, he cursed. But when the cheers of the crowd overtook his senses, he glanced over to Nadim, who was no longer there. No way, did I get him? Carrot wondered with excitement. Sure enough, at the spot where Nadim had previously stood was now a 6-foot-long, man-sized Carrot laying prone. Nadim had not expected such a quick counterspell to be shot while Carrot was in the middle of dodging the frostbolts. Caught dumbfounded, he was hit dead mass with a rather unique polymorph spell, instantly turning him into a large orange tuber. He would have laughed if he still had a mouth. The match, for better or worse, was over. Once Carrot's legs had a chance to thaw, he walked over and turned Nadine back to his jovial self, and offered a hand. In the end, the fight was considered a draw. Neither combatant would move on to the next round. That's the way it goes. Carrot was disappointed to say the least, but the experience was everything, and he vowed to return next year with at least one other spell mastered. Which is right about where we can pick up his current story, as he found his way to the Gathering Stone just recently. I imagine the chickens thought it would be quite useful to have someone around who could turn almost anything into a carrot. Come to think of it, Flambe might appreciate it as well. As for the wizard himself, well, he has been training tirelessly with another recent visitor who is quite well versed in the art of movement. But that is a story for another time. For now, I hope you enjoyed this Tale of the Lost, and be sure to come back next week for new characters, chronicles, and illustrations. Farewell for now.